Hello everyone and welcome to this product presentation of the new and renovated local verifications environment. The local verifications environment allows us to perform the verification of a vast array of structural elements located in our structural model or as a standalone mode. As it can be seen on the screen, the local verification environment is now divided into two main areas. First, we are going to see on the left side of the screen the area dedicated to the elements that we are going to verify, and on the right side we are going to see the 3D view of the entire structural model. Then on the top of the screen, we are going to see three drop-down lists that are going to allow us to select between the different elements that we want to verify. To start with the verification of the structural elements, first we need to choose from this first drop-down list the type of element that we want to verify. As we see here, we can choose between the different types of elements, and in this case I'm going to go for beams. Then the second drop-down list is going to activate and I can choose which type of beam I want to verify. In this case, I'm going to go for a reinforced concrete beam. As we see here on the left part of the screen, a new toolbar is going to appear with all the icons that are specific to this type of element. As we see here, the options are create a new item, we can import all the reinforced concrete beams, and we have two options. We can include them all, or we can include all the reinforced concrete beams that do not have a rebar definition from the structural model. Also, we can modify the calculation parameters, we can modify the properties of the beam, we can delete beams that we just inserted. We have now a button to calculate the selected beams. We can display the results. We can filter out different elements. And this is specific for reinforced concrete elements. We can export the reinforcements that we just calculated into the structure environment. For reinforced concrete beams, I have two options of insertion of the elements inside the local verification environment. First, I can go ahead and add a new item to calculate it in a standalone mode. As I can see here, if I click on the icon create new item, I can open up the new window that it's going to allow me to introduce all the parameters that are specific to this reinforced concrete beam, such as the static scheme, the type of structure, if it's new or existing, the name, and the story where it's located. Then I can go ahead and introduce further parameters such as the span name, the exposure class, and the span length. As I can see here, I can introduce more parameters such as the left support and right support conditions, materials, and section type. I'm going to leave it as it is and just click OK. And as I can see here, the left side of the screen now is going to be divided into two, where on the left side, I'm going to be able to see a table of all the elements present in the subtype selection of this drop-down list, and on the middle part of the screen I'm going to be able to see a drawing with different information about the beam that is selected on the left. So once I introduce my beam, I can see I'm going to be able to see the description, whether a label that is going to give me the information if this element was created by the user or imported from the model. Also, I'm going to be able to see information about its verification state, whether it's verified or not, and the state of the material. In this case, it's new and it can also be existing. And also the level and the alignment where this element is located. Also, another way to introduce new elements into the local verification environment is to import them directly from the structure. So first we have two options. We can include all the reinforced concrete beams or just the ones that do not have a rebar definition. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and include all the reinforced concrete beams that are present in the structural model. As I can see here, all the beams were automatically inserted into the table and they have their given name and all the loads directly from the structure environment. So as I can see here, the label is going to be different because their origin is from the structural model. And once I finish with all the setting of my reinforced concrete beams, I just can go ahead and click on calculate. Also, I can select multiple reinforced concrete beams and click on calculate to calculate them all at once. As I can see here, in a couple of seconds, all the beams were calculated. In this case, the label of the verification state turns green, which indicates that the verification is satisfied. Also, when I select a different reinforced concrete beams now available, I'm going to be able to see, apart from the loads that are acting on the beam, I can see the reinforcement option that it's going to give me information about the rebars on the reinforced concrete beams. In this environment, I have many options, such as to introduce new rebar profiles, perhaps also edit their diameters. I can insert or edit the stirrups. I can also delete or redo the profiles, and I can also stretch their length. Also, along with the reinforcement, I'm going to be able to see all the diagrams of different parameters, such as the applied forces, as I can see here, also the verification for the ultimate limit state, that it's going to give me a diagram of the resistance to the flexural moment or shear. Also, I can see the stresses for service limit states, such as the ones that I see over here. Also, I'm going to be able to see the deformed curve of the reinforced concrete beam. And lastly, I'm going to be able to see the verification for cracks for the service limit state, as I can see for different combination cases. By selecting different elements on the table list, I have several options, such as to modify the calculation parameters, modify some characteristics of the beam. I can delete this element from the list. And if I do certain modifications, I can recalculate. And also I can display the results by clicking on this button over here. What this button is going to do, it's going to open up a window that it's going to show me for the selected reinforced concrete beam the different results for the different limit states, as I can see here for the ultimate limit state or service limit state. So you can see here I have all the verifications on all different places on the beam, and I can see more detail on the numbers. Also, another option is to display the filters to filter out certain types of elements or certain type of results. In this case, I can, for example, choose to show or hide elements with different characteristics, such as new and existing, the ones that are calculated or not, the ones that show a reinforcement or not, or the ones that do not verify a certain limit state. Lastly, another option that I have with the reinforced concrete beams is that if I have imported a reinforced concrete beam from the structure environment and I decided to do some changes on the structural rebars, I can just go ahead and export those rebars that I've just modified into the structure environment. So we can do this very simply by just clicking on this icon over here, and a message is going to appear that the export was successful. Similar with the case of reinforced concrete beams, I can do the same with the calculation of steel beams. In this case, I'm going to see again a specific toolbar that is going to be specific of this type of element. And again, I'm going to have two options of insertion of elements into the local verification environment. I can create a new item by just clicking on the icon. I'm going to call it beam 1 and set all the parameters. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and set the length of the span. I'm going to just leave all the parameters as they are, and the calculation parameters, I'm going to just leave them as they are. Once I click OK, the element is created, and because it's the first element, the element table is also created. Also, another option to insert elements is to include the steel beams that are present on the structure environment. I can just go ahead and click on the icon, and all the steel beams are quickly imported into the software. As I can see here, all the beams that were imported from the structure environment have all the loads of the model, but the one that I created from scratch doesn't have any loads in it. And for this case, I'm going to just add a very simple dead weight just for a very simple load case. So once I finish inserted all my steel beams, I just can go ahead and calculate them. Similarly, on how we saw on the reinforced concrete beams option, I can just go ahead, shift, and with the arrow, I can select multiple elements at once and click on calculate to calculate them all. As I can see very quickly, all the elements are calculated, and in the center part of the screen, I'm going to be able to see the different loads and a new option that is the results. In the results area, I'm going to be able to see the applied forces on this steel beam and the verification strengths for the service limit states. It's going to show me the deflection of the steel beam. So as I see here, applied forces, I'm going to be able to see the maximum and minimum applied forces. And with the deflection, I'm going to be able to see the deflection in every part of the beam. If I want more details on the numbers of the results, I can also go to the display results option. That it's going to open up a window that is going to give me very detailed information about the different verifications and their coefficients. Of course, I can open up the details window that is going to give me more detailed diagrams for verifications and resistance and different combinations, as I can see here. If I go ahead and close those windows, I can see that the verification is satisfied for all the elements. Similar to the reinforced concrete beam area, I have the display filters option that allows me to filter between different parameters of my choosing, such as the verification of limit states, the origin, the state of the elements, and some other characteristics such as the cross section and their materials. That's it for this presentation. Thank you everyone for your attention, and don't forget to follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get access to our latest videos and tutorials.